Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in for another episode. Today, we are doing a tarot reading for 2026. I actually went and did an intuitive tarot reading. I invited my spirit guides in and I pulled a card for every month of the year. And I went into it with the intention of let's pull a card for every month of the year. But really, what I was shown in the reading was these 6 cards are going to be themes of the first 6 months. And these 6 cards are going to be themes for the last 6 months of the year. So that's more the differentiator that I actually got when I was going into the reading, which I just wanted to point out because sometimes we go in with the intention of, oh, this is how it should be or look or flow, and then maybe sometimes we're shown something a little bit different. So I always say go with your intuition and what's coming in from your spirit guides rather than maybe what your ego wants to create, if that makes sense. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Madison and I am a tarot reader. I do Akashic Records, I do Reiki, I am a medium, and I talk about a lot of metaphysical and quantum and spiritual topics on my channel. So if things like that interest you, I'd love to have you follow along. And I do a couple videos every week, so would love to have you learning more about spirituality and metaphysics with us. So let's get into it, the 2026 tarot reading. So first card that came up is the Star. And so we're going to start this reading talking about the first 6 months of the year and what is going to be coming in then. So the Star is all about reminding you that you are the main character. I think sometimes we just forget that we're the main character of this life that we're actually co-creating with the universe. And instead, we're just going through the motions, going through what other people expect of us to do, trying to make other people happy, and we forget that we're the main character and we can co-create any life we want. And what's interesting is I've heard everybody talking about how this upcoming year is a year 1, and I heard somebody today actually talking about how really it's a year 10. And the difference between a year 1 and a year 10 is a year 10 is all about co-creating with source. And so immediately I was like, oh duh, that's why the Star card came up first, because we are literally the main character co-creating our dream life and stepping into our higher timeline and inviting source, universe, whatever you believe in, to come along and help us to co-create that reality that we are predestined to step into. Okay, Page of Wands is next. So immediately what came through is there is going to be a very large number of people that are either going through new spiritual awakenings or would consider themselves spiritually awake, but start to discover things that blow even the current reality that they believe in out of the water to some extent. And so what was being shown with this is it's so funny, I'm very surprised that I'm saying this out loud, but I just feel drawn to. I have been debating going back to school to get a degree in metaphysics. And my background, if you are new here, is I actually worked in the corporate world and did corporate HR for 10 years, and I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and was always kind of based on the way the traditional education system worked versus working in the real world for 10 years. The education didn't really add the value that I thought it would to the day-to-day practical application. So I was always kind of against going into anything degree related when I started doing this work, right? Of course, I'm a Reiki master on paper, all those things, but I was really you don't necessarily need that. But now I found there's so many things that I don't know about in the spiritual world. For example, I want to learn how to do quantum healing. I want to learn about feng shui. There's so many topics that I don't know anything about that I would like to be able to really deepen my knowledge in. So I have kind of been guided to start this one specific metaphysics program. I believe I'm going to start it probably mid-February. It's kind of the timeline that, I've been shown when I've kind of gone into the Akashic Records and said, hey, am I wanting to do this because I want the validation or the proof for the, oh, look, I have a degree, so it makes it official? Is there that ego part of me that wants to do it? Or is this something that's genuinely going to help me put the pieces together and be able to provide a higher level of knowledge for my audience, you know? And it's really hard to kind of differentiate that, especially when you're wanting to show up as like a 5D ascended being, but ultimately you still have that ego that, you know, sometimes is focused on what people will think or how to make yourself look more official, you know, whatever it is, right? And so immediately that's what was coming up when I was talking about this card, is even people who are spiritually awake are going to go through some sort of activation, ascension, upgrade, awakening, starting a new path, starting to learn about a new modality, whatever it is. We're all going to go through that at some point in this year. And there's a couple things, right? You could have the experiences come up and you could say, that makes me uncomfortable, I don't want anything to do with that. Or you could say, that's cool, I'm going to open this door and see where it leads. So this is definitely the guidance to open the door and see where it leads. Okay, next card is the Devil card. And so immediately what came through with this card, not only with the imagery, but also just kind of intuitively, is that we all have at least two people in our life that are weighing us down in some capacity. Maybe it is that we allow people to stay because they're family. Maybe it's we don't want to rock the boat, so we're just allowing certain behaviors to slide. But whatever it is, this is showing that you're going to have two people, and maybe immediately you're like, I know who those two people are right now. But there are people in your life right now that are weighing you down, and you're either going to have to set some boundaries or have some conversations around that in order to fully step into your star main character energy. Because what I was being shown with this is it's almost like, for example, in my life, they were showing me somebody really specific who they're basically just like a taker of energy, right? Like they just come in, they cause chaos, they take up a lot of my energy, and then they go MIA, right? And it was almost like that's everybody who's on a spiritual path or has spiritual missions here. We all sort of have these distractor people in our life, right? Where if we get caught up in their stuff, it can derail us for days, weeks, months, years, whatever it is, right? And so this was that really big, like, that's going to be something that I've been putting off that I'm going to have to address or face or set boundaries around or have a conversation around in the first half of 2026. So, okay, next card. Similar energy. This card came right after the card we were just discussing. So as we're kind of talking about like cycles and flows, it's significant that the Devil card came up and then the Tower card came up, symbolizing that whenever you have this conversation, set these boundaries, it's going to create some sort of Tower moment. And I want to highlight that we always think the Devil card and the Tower card are bad cards. They're not. So when we think about like the goddess Kali, so working with the goddess Kali is like the Tower card. It's very much like she's coming in and she's saying, hey, you're not living up to your potential. You're allowing these people to drag you down. You're allowing these habits or these addictions to keep you from your purpose, and we're not going to allow that anymore. So we're going to take away some of these things that might be causing distractions or causing you to not be able to step into your full purpose, so that way you can be fully aligned. And is it going to be comfortable? Probably not. But is it going to be ultimately what you need and what you've probably been putting off? Yeah. And so it's interesting that all this is like kind of tying together, because I did this intuitive reading yesterday evening and then recorded now this morning. But 2 days ago, I was with one of my friends, and we have a circle that we do every month. It's called Her Sacred Circle. And we have a different goddess. We connect with that goddess, and then we do some sort of activity around connecting with that goddess. So for example, we have done a like releasing ritual. We have done various meditations to call in goddesses. We have worked with fruits and candles and candle magic and color magic, just all these different things that we incorporate, right? So every month we have a different goddess and a different activity or theme or whatever. And it's so fun for us to create this. So 2 days ago, we were meeting and we were talking about how our goddess for January is Kali. So if you come to Her Sacred Circle in January, we're going to be talking about Kali. And immediately, Veronica, my friend that I do this circle with, she also reads tarot. So she's like, oh, Kali is the Tower card. And I was like, oh my God, she is. And then sure enough, what came up, like me because whenever we're talking about working with these goddesses, I very intentionally work with that goddess for the whole month. So like my intention in January is going to be working with Kali, calling her and saying, hey, where do I need to step into my full potential? Where am I allowing distractions to keep me stuck? All of that stuff that, you know, Kali does. It's that deep transformation, but it's definitely the transformation that calls you out a little bit as well. And so I was like, oh, it's so crazy that the Tower card came up right as we were just discussing that and my intention to start working with Kali more in January specifically. So it's cool whenever you start to get into this work how everything is interconnected, even if you don't realize it at the moment. So fun story. Temperance is the next card. Temperance is all about balance. So now at this point in the first 6 months of the year, we have been through some spiritual awakenings. We have been through some difficult conversations. We have been through some sort of tower moment. We've remembered that we're the main character. And now we're trying to find balance because that's a shit ton of stuff to go to go through and to unpack. It's all things that at the end are very, very good, but in the moment can be very, very hard, right? Especially if you're somebody who avoids conflict or avoids confrontation or doesn't want to hurt people's feelings or you're a people pleaser. I have tendencies to gravitate towards all those qualities. And so this year I can very much see myself being called to step into what's best for me and to be more honest rather than to be more of a people pleaser, you know, because being a people pleaser doesn't benefit anybody. Now somebody thinks that you're not bothered by them and you secretly are, and it just creates this, you know, not good energy, right? So temperance is all about balance. So being able to have balance in not only your personal and your work life, but also your spiritual life, you know? I think for me personally, whenever I get busy with personal and work stuff, even though my work is spiritual, I'll be very quick to dismiss my personal spiritual practices. And then I get really out of balance. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I not feeling fulfilled? And so this card is all about finding that balance in whatever it looks like. And so for me, it looks like trying to figure out, okay, putting pen to paper, all the things I try to do every week, how does it actually work and flow and how can I make it all come together, you know? So that's one thing that I've definitely been called to do is to have more of a, I don't want to say a strict schedule because, but but very much more of like, okay, on Mondays, I do these tasks. On Tuesdays, I do these tasks. It's sort of that flow where I know everything's getting done every single week because it's a lot when you're managing all these things behind the scenes and just trying to figure out how that balances with all of these other things that are going on, right? Okay, last card for the first 6 months of the year is the High Priestess. So the High Priestess is all about, if you think of medicine woman, seer, oracle, all of those terminologies where you're really just this more enlightened or on the path of enlightenment, but through a very feminine way, right? So for me, spirituality comes very feminine because I can kind of just like put out to the universe, I want to learn about this, and the right things will appear, right? So here's an example of that. I very much have tried to kind of force things, right? Like I've tried to be like, this month I want to learn XYZ, and like that was not in line with what really was next for me. So now I'm just kind of like, okay, this is something that I think I'm supposed to learn about it if I am, create the avenues or the outlets or whatever, right? So I've been learning more about the Merkaba, which is your light body, how to activate your light body, how to work with your light body. And I also have been very interested in quantum healing because I know I do Reiki, and I think Reiki is incredibly powerful, but I knew that there was something else that was kind of like a step up from Reiki, but I didn't really know what it was or how it worked, right? So I get this book to help me learn about how to activate my light body, and what comes with that is an entire other half of the book that is on quantum healing. So now I've learned how to activate my own light body, and I've also started to learn quantum healing and started to practice that on people around me. I'll do a whole other episode on that probably in the next month or so. My goal in January is to do 4 practice sessions with 4 different people. So essentially like every week do a practice session on 4 different people. So then I'll have 16 sessions at the end of the month, which is going to be a ton, but then I'll have a lot of data to be able to say, here's what I worked with this person on, here's what the experiences were, here's what the outcome was, here's what the benefits were, here's what it was like going through the process. Did they need 4 sessions? Did they really need 1 session? Just trying to figure out all the logistics, right? So as it just all came together, right? I just happened to order this book on the light body, then I start to learn quantum healing, then I start to practice it on other people, then I start to get an actual plan as to how I'm going to start integrating it into my business, right? And it's cool because for me, what I'm supposed to be learning or doing next in my spiritual world, I feel like is a very feminine, surrender, intuitive experience, which is not how I live the rest of my life. So it's interesting, but I love that it's definitely calling us to acknowledge how much easier and more fruitful that can be than rather than trying to like force, right? Okay, so that's first half of the year. You guys know I'm long-winded, but that's okay. I wanted to tell you guys just some stories and some updates of what's been going on with me and how these cards were resonating for me. Because whenever I do stuff like this, I always will set the intention of like, hey guides, I really want to tap in and do a 2026 reading for the collective. So things that are going to resonate with me, but also things that are going to resonate with the collective. And maybe for, me, the High Priestess card applies to one area of life. Maybe for somebody else, it applies in a completely different area of life, but it still applies and makes sense, right? So it's not necessarily about your experiences being the same as mine. It's about you figuring out how these cards fit into the various aspects of your life and the things that you're wanting to change or feeling called to do in the new year. Okay, so now we're looking into the second half of 2026. So first half of 2026, we've done a lot, right? Good things are happening. We're flowing. We're feeling more on the path to enlightenment. We've addressed the things that we've been sweeping under the rug. Pieces that needed to fall away have fallen away. Bam. Now we're starting the second half of 2026, and it's funny, before I have at least one more story to tell you guys. So I sat down to plan out my 2026, what I need to do for my business, for personal, all these different things, right? And very clearly I got direction for the first 6 months of the year, specific things to focus on in January, February, March, April, May, June. And then a part of my June download that I got was to do some sort of like sabbatical or pilgrimage sort of travel journey. Maybe it's on my own, maybe it's not, but something like that is going to happen in June. And that's where I'm going to get kind of insights or downloads as to what to do next or where to focus my energy next. So basically my guides were like, hey, for the first 5 months of the year, you have a plan. The 6th month of the year, you're going to go on a sabbatical and figure out what to do next. And I was like, what? So that is the backstory. And then first card for first half of 2026 is the Fool. And so the Fool is all about when you're in a brand new period or phase of life and you have no idea what the fuck is going on, but you're like, I'm on the right path. I don't really know how this works and it's new and I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I'm excited. And that's what the Fool's all about, right? Is just learning and guiding and being new at something. This is interesting. I've never gotten this many face cards, and I've never gotten this many early in the process face cards, which when we talk about how this is a year, 10 of co-creation with the divine, this makes so much sense into that. So next we have the Magician. So again, we're co-creating with the divine. You are the magician. When we think about the Magician card, it's all about how a lot of times we're being called to create something that does not exist. That's what I personally feel like I'm being called to create, is something that doesn't exist. Through my 5D membership program, my goal is to basically create a mystery school. If you think like a mystery school that you would go to and you would learn things like how to access the Akashic Record, how to connect with spirit guides, how to learn how to connect with cards, how to eventually, I want to do classes on how to learn how to remote view, how to understand and implement feng shui into your life, how to use astrology, like just all these different things where you really feel like, oh, I understand, and all the aspects of spirituality are starting to work together. That's what I'm trying to create through my 5D membership. So if you're interested in learning or seeing what's already there, I'll link my website in the show notes, and you guys can explore that if you like. I do think right now I have a 1-week free trial, so you can try the membership for a week for free. And the membership right now, it's set up where every single week you get a new channeled message or something, right? Every single week I go into the Akashic Records, I say, what is my 5D audience supposed to learn about now? There is how to do your own past life regression, how to connect with your spirit guides, how to connect with your higher self, understanding time being simultaneous rather than linear. There's all that stuff that already exists, and then in addition to that, every week you get a new channeled message or video or whatever. Okay, so next card is the Empress. So Empress, it's interesting that we got Empress and High Priestess in the same year, because Empress, they're both very much that traditional feminine fun, divine, loving energy. But Empress is more about, I would say, the nurturing energy. So for me, this is saying I'm spending a lot of time nurturing my audience. I'm wanting to do a retreat in Egypt next year and take people to some of these incredibly spiritual places and kind of allow them to have experiences and kind of help them co-create their own spiritual enlightenment or experiences with the divine, right? And so this is all about that energy of you helping others, you facilitating for others. Maybe you're a mom, maybe you're wanting to be a mom. There's so many different ways that we're going to be stepping into that strong, powerful feminine energy, but also in a way where we're helping to take care or help others in the process. So next card we have is Wheel of Fortune. So Wheel of Fortune is all about luck. This is everything is going right. Everything is happening for you. Everything is coming to you easy. You're learning to manifest quicker. A big thing that came through on this card is manifestation. So being able to say, so for me, I've spent a lot of time trying to understand manifestation, and I'll definitely do some videos on that this year as well. But the biggest thing for me is trying to collapse the timelines between me thinking about how I want to manifest something and that thing actually manifesting, right? Because in the metaphysical and in the quantum world, in theory, you can manifest things instantly. I personally don't know how to do that, but I want to learn. And so that's one of the things that I'm trying to learn more about this year, is how to collapse the timelines between what I'm trying to manifest and that thing showing up, right? And I haven't quite mastered it, but this is bringing me back to that, like you, like me, us, the collective, finally having the understanding and ability of how to manifest things and how to bring that luck to us in whatever capacity we need for our highest timeline. This is luck, this is abundance, this is good things coming your way, this is the right opportunities. This is a lot of reward for all of the hard work that you've done up until this point. Right after the Wheel of Fortune, we have the Chariot, which is all about victory, determination, self-will, continuing to go forward, not giving up when things get tough. And you're finally getting that reward where you're like, I freaking did it. The goals for the year, I crushed them. And I think that this is just such a motivating card to see as we talk about the second half of 2026. So last card we have is King of Swords. So King of Swords is all about being somebody who is powerful, somebody who is authoritative, but also listens and understands, somebody who is powerful but uses their power for good. And this is also somebody who is very much looked to as a public figure. So if you're seeing this, you might be somebody who you're wanting to build your own YouTube channel, you're wanting to step into whatever sort of light that is yours that's been calling to you, right? And you're doing that in a way where you're very professional, very polished, very put together, but also very diplomatic in a way that people respect you. So this is what came through for 2026, which is so freaking much. But yeah, you guys can save this video for later if you're going through these moments throughout the year, and you can watch this video anytime throughout the year, right? Like you could literally watch it at the end of 2026 and kind of use this video to reflect back on 2025. So save this video for later. If you don't already follow along, please subscribe to see all of the new exciting content coming in 2026. There's going to be a lot of new videos coming. As I mentioned, my 5D membership, it is on my website. You can try it for a week for free. And I also do Akashic Records readings. So if you are somebody who you want to find out your soul purpose, your past lives, I have an option to work with me through Akashic Records on my website as well. I do this from anywhere in the world over Zoom. It is the same quality and message over Zoom as you would get in person with me. Let's see what else. Oh, definitely thinking of doing a retreat sometime later in 2026 in Egypt. So if that's something that excites you, just wanted to kind of bloop, put that in for you. And yeah, I think that's all I have for now. If you want to learn anything more about me, all my socials are at A Holistic Awakening. My name is Madison and my website is linked below. I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have an amazing 2026.